Alberta Premier Danielle Smith announced the launch of a website today that will provide voters with key information about the upcoming fall referendum. The questions will include a range of topics, such as measures aimed at limiting immigration to the province. As for the issue of possible separation, the Premier clarified her position, saying at the moment it's not included in the referendum.
My position is that we should remain in Canada. That's the position of our government. We believe that we should assert sovereignty within a united Canada. So that is our policy. And so others are putting forward a proposal that would have a different position. And so it would not be a government-sponsored question. It would be one that would be a citizen-initiated response. And so we're waiting to see if the court will affirm that and allow the signature collection to go to be validated. I don't want to prejudge what the court's going to do. I believe they're going to be making their decision in May.
Separatist groups claim to have already met the province's threshold for the number of people required for a referendum question on the issue. Meanwhile, an anti-separation petition is gaining momentum with hundreds of thousands of people signing it. For more on this, I want to bring in Thomas Lukaszuk. He's a former Deputy Premier of Alberta and the leader of the Forever Canadian Initiative, a petition that seeks to make it official policy for Alberta to stay in Canada. And Thomas, appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Andrew, thank you for having me.
So there are still questions as to whether a separation question will appear on the ballot this fall. The Premier said she's waiting for the court process to play out and the validations of the signatures. But do you think Albertans will be voting on whether or not to separate from Canada come this October?
Andrew, the Forever Canadian petition, which in a record way garnered almost 500,000 signatures from Albertans, is asking the Premier clearly to resolve this issue in the Alberta legislature and pose the question, which is, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada, to all the elected members of Alberta legislature and put this issue to rest, because it is already causing major economic harm to our province and social division. But it appears that the Premier does not want to resolve that issue in the legislature and wants to have a referendum question. In that case, even though I still advise the Premier not to go ahead with a referendum, I would prefer that she would choose the question that's already verified by Elections Alberta, has nearly 500,000 signatures, and courts have no objection to this question. It does not violate our First Nation treaties or our charter rights.
So what did you make of, so what do you think's going on here? Why do you think that question, do you feel as though United Conservative Party members have been forthcoming about their position on whether or not Alberta should separate from Canada?
Well, it's the worst kept secret. We know that there are at least 14 members of Alberta legislature from the United Conservative Party who have separatist tendencies. Let's put it that way. One has actually written an open letter advocating for separation. And during the last annual general meeting of the United Conservative Party, we saw that maybe not 50%, but pretty close to 50% of those in attendance were in favor of separation. So the Premier has put herself in a very difficult position, because on one hand she wants to say that she's not a separatist, but her party clearly is having separatist tendencies. So she's waiting for the separatist question to be verified by Elections Alberta and cleared by the courts. But we have no certainty that they have actually received the number of signatures that they profess to have collected. So today in her press conference, the Premier actually indicated that she may be inclined to put our question, the question of Forever Canadian, onto the ballot. I still hope that she doesn't go ahead with a referendum anyhow, because it has already caused a lot of harm to our province. But as a movement, as a Forever Canadian movement, we're preparing, because it seems like the Premier wants that referendum. So we are asking all Albertans and all Canadians to actually log on to our website, forever-canadian.ca, and support us financially or in any other way, because we're going to have to fight a pretty robust campaign to win.
Okay, so let me ask you a little bit about that, because, what she was talking about today are these 9 questions on immigration, on maybe a different relationship with the federal government. I'm kind of summarizing, but that's what Albertans, we know, as long as the plan goes ahead, will be voting on in October. But what you're saying is there could be additional questions. One saying, should Alberta separate from Canada? And then yours saying, well, you tell me, what would your question be?
Well, our question, for every Canadian question, the one that received 500,000 signatures, is, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? That was the question that was approved by Elections Alberta, and nearly 500,000 Albertans attached their signatures to that question with the hope that it would be resolved in the legislature. But if there is to be a referendum, then by all means, put this question on. It's a clear question. It meets the Clarity Act requirements, and that would make us the Yes campaign. So we are preparing for this campaign, as I said earlier, because it appears that in addition to the 8 questions that the Premier is posing to Albertans on immigration and other things, she will be adding one extra question on separatism.
And where is that movement, do you think, in the province of Alberta? And what are your concerns if that question does be put to the people of Alberta in the fall?
Andrew, my concerns are multiple. Number one, I expect our government to make decisions on pivotal issues, and a question of loyalty to Canada after Premier and MLAs have sworn a vote of allegiance to become premiers and members of legislature to begin with should not be a difficult question to answer in the legislature, and that is something that all elected members owe to Albertans and express clearly in a vote what their position is. But if there is a referendum, vast majority of Albertans are proud Canadians. In excess of 75% of Albertans want nothing to do with separatism. But as you know, Andrew, we have to learn from history, and same was the situation with Brexit. And next thing you know, voter turnout was lacking on one side, and the other side prevailed with 52%, and then was shocked the next morning. I am not willing to take those chances. So that is why I'm asking now all Albertans to log on to forever-canadian.ca and sign themselves up as supporters, and the rest of Canadians, because this is not just about Alberta. This is about the future of Canada, both as a country and as a commercial unit. So we're asking all Canadians to support us financially. And our job will be, Andrew, to bring the vote out. We have to send a very clear signal, not only to the rest of Canada, that we are just like you, the rest of Canadians, proud to be Canadian, but particularly to the rest of the world. We now live in very turbulent geopolitical world, and we need to send a signal to the United States, to Washington, and elsewhere, that this country can't be broken up, that we are united.
Well, speaking of the United States, how concerned are you that there could be foreign interference from the United States, maybe even from top Trump officials, in a potential referendum on Alberta separating from Canada?
Andrew, there already is interference. We're seeing people that were previously courted by the Premier of Alberta, like Tucker Carlson, getting very much involved, and Elon Musk through social media. So they are already interfering in that sense. But we know for a fact that proponents of separatism in Alberta have met 3 times with top officials in Washington, D.C., negotiating the terms of separation and even financial loans to this new country that would supposedly be created. So this is not foreign interference that is covert, it's overt. And I fully expect, and I'm building this into my campaign strategy, that sometimes during the referendum period, the president and or his government will be interfering even further in our domestic policies. And that is why it is so important not to just win the referendum, like in Quebec, by 1%, but we have to have an overwhelming win to send a clear signal to President Trump that this province cannot be taken away from Alberta, and that he shouldn't be looking for cracks in our Canadian fabric. We are a solid country, and we are sticking together.
Thomas, thank you. Thomas Lukaszuk joining us live from Edmonton.